Let's head into my local flea market in search of video games, and honestly, we found a ton of stuff today. First off, I saw this Pikachu and Sonic hat, as well as a few little Mario plushes right here. I found this box of PlayStation 3 games. These have been there for a while, so I checked it out and went through them, but honestly, there wasn't anything here that I had to pick up. So I kept going, where I ended up finding a few controllers. Here is a knockoff Xbox 360 controller, and then other controllers that are overpriced, as well as I continued on because honestly, none of this stuff that I'm seeing so far is worth it, but hopefully we can find some good stuff today. Usually there's a few booths that I find stuff at. I found this resale booth here. This was a game store. I'm assuming they had a bunch of Xbox 360 games here in this bin, and a few of them did catch my eye, like this copy of Bully. However, for 20 bucks, I could wait and pass on that. This is the flea market. I don't want to pay full price here. Then we've got a box or two boxes of accessories that kind of caught my eye. Some of these prices weren't bad until I saw $20 for that AC adapter for the Nintendo 64. That's absolutely crazy to me, and I don't think I could ever pay that much. That's absolutely insane. Then they had some Switch games here. This one is Harvest Moon. My wife was interested in getting this one, so I obviously had to check it out. They had a bunch of good games here, but all pretty much fair price or overpriced, as well as a Commodore Mini, which I don't see very often in my area. They had a bunch of NES games here that caught my eye, like these Castlevania games and a few other games that I don't see them very often. Then I found some Nintendo 64 games, Pokemon Puzzle League for 20 bucks, as well as a few games here that I just didn't need for my collection, so I kept looking. They had a few DS games here. I love seeing DS games in the wild. However, none of these are worth it. I did find NCAA Football 13 for the PS3 for $10, and they had two copies, which was kind of interesting to me. I feel like that price is not bad, but definitely not a great price. Star Wars Battlefront here for the PlayStation 2. They had a ton of bins, and honestly, this person is probably better off if they would to just sell these online. Ooh, there's another Harvest Moon game for the PS2 for only 10 bucks, but I already had this in my collection, so I left it behind. The Spider-Man for 15 was tempting. However, I don't want to pay full price for it, so I left it behind. A few more PlayStation 2 games and Xbox games here. I did find a GameCube game, which I never find in my area. GoldenEye 007 here, as well as a few Guitar Hero Aerosmith games. Now, these were marked for only $4, which is pretty awesome, but we'll get into that later. $4 for these games are worth about 15 to 18, so not a bad deal there. Then I kept going on the flea market, and honestly, this booth next is actually like 2 booths down, so it didn't take me very long. They had a bunch of Switch games here, but nothing I absolutely had to have or didn't already have in the collection. I did find this Mario Kart Wii, but for 25 bucks, it's probably about what it's worth here. They had a ton of Wii U games. I say a ton, a few. I like seeing Wii U games out in the wild because you don't see them very often, but honestly, I could pass on these just because these prices are full market value, and this is a flea market. I'm not looking to pay all the money in the world, like $30 for Mario All-Stars, no thanks. And they had a few loose disc Switch games or cartridge Switch games, as well as some PS5 games here, and this booth was not actually that bad. I ended up getting 8 different games at the flea market, which is actually pretty good considering I wasn't thinking I was gonna get this much, and honestly, it was pretty much from 2 different vendors here. There were a few Mario things or Pikachu or things like that, but not things that I actually needed until I got to that booth that was basically a local game store. And they had all those games priced in the bins and on the overpriced accessories and whatnot. I ended up picking up 4 games from them, which wasn't too bad. My wife ended up getting Harvest Moon Light of Hope for the Switch for $20, as well as Barbie Horse Adventures Riding Camp for $5. she wanted to grab both of these. She's definitely been looking for more like those cozy games, so this is right up that alley. As well as I ended up grabbing 2 copies of Guitar Hero Aerosmith for the Wii. And as you can tell in the video, they actually had a sticker on one of them that said $4, and then the other one just didn't have pricing on it at all. And when I talked to them, he said, no, sorry, I could do $5. Normally, I wouldn't do that because I don't like to buy games at more price than the sticker is on it. So, like, if they wanted to do it and sell it for $4 or more, take the sticker off and make sure you take care of your games. You're the one selling it. But I digress. I ended up still picking these up because they're worth, like I said, I think maybe like $15. We'll have to check that out in a bit. But definitely for $5 each, these are definitely well worth picking up. And then that last booth there ended up having a few PS5 games, and my wife ended up getting a DS and a 3DS game. First off, she wanted to get these games. I think she got them for $15. So it was Cooking Mama 4 Kitchen Magic, Loose, as well as Gardening Mama. Again, these are cozy games that she's always been on the lookout for. And then I ended up getting God of War Ragnarok and Ratchet and Clank, both for the PlayStation 5. I've been looking for God of War Ragnarok for a while now, and I figured getting this loose or complete like this used is probably definitely not a bad deal, as well as this Ratchet and Clank I've been wanting to pick up as well. But this game has always been like $40, and this one, when I've seen it used at game stores, is like 60 plus. So for $60 both, I'll pick it up. But when I went up to pay for this, they wanted 75 and I talked them down to 70. So I'm counting as picking God of War up for only $35. So I'm not too mad about this. Now let's go ahead and sit down and talk about how much all of this is worth and how much all I've paid for it, and if going to the flea market today was actually worth it. I've got my computer pulled up here, and for the sake of this video, we're just going to be using price charting. I've got all the games, so let's go ahead and talk about it. I'm going to talk about the cheaper games first, and then we'll work our way up to the top there. First off, we've got Cooking Mama 4, which, I mean, honestly isn't going to be a game that's worth very much, but for the sake of this video, let's go ahead and keep it on track. This is the DS game. It's actually worth $17, and we paid $15 for both of these, so that's actually not a bad start here. So we've got $17 there for Cooking Mama. Let's see what it is for Gardening Mama. I'm not expecting more than like $7 here, honestly. Gardening Mama, $8. Okay, we'll add that to the total there. Then we've got Barbie Horse Adventures Riding Camp. We ended up picking that up for $5. It might be worth more, probably more like 10 is what I'm guessing here, but I don't actually know. I don't keep track of the Barbie game prices, but I could be wrong there. It could be worth a lot more, and I am wrong. This is only worth about $7, so we'll go ahead and add 7 to the total there. And then last but not least, when it comes to the cozy games that I picked up for my wife, we've got Harvest Moon. What is this? Light of Hope Special Edition. We paid $20, but is it going to be worth the $20? I don't know, to be honest with you. And we've got it pulled up for the Switch and complete. This is worth a whopping $15, $14. So I'll add that in, which this was not a good buy there, but it is what it is. We've got Guitar Hero Aerosmith, 2 copies of that, which will probably make up for the price of it. If I typed it in right, I just put Guitar Aerosmith and it actually worked, which is kind of shocking to me. Let's go ahead and see. Oh, okay, so I was wrong. I thought these were about $15 each, and they're only worth around 10, which, I mean, is what it is. So that's another $20 into the price. Let's look up these PlayStation 5 games and hope we can make up some value here, because I feel like we might have overpaid on some of this stuff. What is this? Rift Apart? Ratchet and Clank, though, is a ton of fun. I've never played this one, so this is $28. That's not bad. I paid 20 for it, so for 28, I think that is a decent deal. And then we've got God of War, Ragnarok. It's not one of those, so I'm just gonna type in God of War Ragnarok and see where it is, and it's at about $33, so that's really funny considering I paid $35 for it, so basically right on price there. However, I haven't seen any prices for this game in my area that's less than 50, so when I saw that, I had to pick it up. So that gives us a grand total of $127 in value, and I know for a fact I paid $70 for this bundle plus what 10 70 80 100 105, so I saved myself $22 by going to the flea market. But overall, we got out of the house, got some good games at decent prices for our game collections, so we're pretty happy about that. But I'm gonna get out of here, so check that video out if you haven't already. I definitely think we could have had a better day at the flea market. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. However, today, not too bad here, but usually I don't pick up Switch or PS5 games from the flea market, so I consider this a win. But what do you think? Comment down below and let me know. I'm getting out of here though, so check out that video out if you haven't already.